Are you new to this tech journey and wondering what some of these weird symbols on your keyboard stand for? Well, if so, you're not alone and you've come to the right place. My name is Rhonda and I'm with the Salem, Ohio Public Library. For today's video, I want to share with you a little bit about the keyboard. Now, of course, there's our basic alphabet and our basic numbers, but what are some of these strange symbols for, and what is their purpose on the keyboard? So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I am going to shoot right to the Shift key here. Now, the Shift key is located to the left and to the right of the bottom of your keyboard. And so if you notice, there's one over there and then there is one over here. Now, the reason there's two shift keys is because when you are typing, you can either quickly get to the shift key with your left pinky, or you can quickly get to the shift key with your right pinky. And to give you a little bit of context, the shift key, a technical definition of it, is a keyboard modifier key. It allows the user to type a single capital letter or to change the top number keys to a symbol. So let's go ahead and give a little bit of an example here. So if I type Rhonda, which is my name, and I hold the shift key down the whole time as I'm pressing my letters, it makes it all capital. Now, if I start typing Rhonda, but I don't press the shift key, as you can see, it keeps it lowercase. Now, once I hit the space bar here, it is going to automatically capitalize the R in my name, but that's because the word processor I'm using, which is just a fancy word for the electronic piece of paper that I'm using to type on, it can automatically detect that I am typing in a proper noun, and that's why it automatically did that. However, an example of a time in which it might not do that is if I type in Salem Public Library, but I don't capitalize the public library, it's not automatically changing that when I hit the space bar because it's not recognizing that it's a public noun, or I'm sorry, a proper noun or a public name. So at this point, this is where learning the shift key comes in handy, because if I just hit the shift key and I hold it down while hitting the P, it capitalizes it. And when I let go and type the rest of it, it keeps it lowercase. And that is the main example for the shift key with letters. Now let's look at the shift key with numbers. So if you notice over at the top of your keyboard here, you have numbers, and on each number there is a symbol there. I'm going to go through what each of those symbols mean, but before I do that, I just want to give you a quick example. So if I hold down the shift key and I press the number 1, I get the exclamation mark. And if I hold down the shift key and I maybe hold down the number 4, I'm getting the money sign. But if I press the number 4 and I don't hit the shift key, then it is indeed just the number 4. So now that we went over that, I'm going to just very quickly give you a little bit of at least a name for what a lot of these characters are up here, just so that you have that knowledge. Above the 1, we have the exclamation mark. Above the 2, I believe it's pronounced ampersand sign or the @ sign. So when we're typing in an email address, we often use the @ sign, and that's what that one is. We have the number sign, the dollar sign, percentage sign. This one here is actually called a caret. I don't ever recall using this myself personally, but I do believe that it's used a lot in mathematics. And so if you are maybe an accountant or a math teacher or just in the mathematic field, this might be something that you would use frequently. Here is our and sign, our asterisk. We have our left parenthesis, our right parenthesis. This one I'm going to give an example of. this is actually the very top line is called the underscore. So down at the bottom, if I hold shift and I press this, I get a line a little bit lower, which is underneath the letters. But if I don't hold shift and I let go, I have just your basic dash. Okay, over here we have our plus sign. Oop, didn't mean to move that. I have our plus sign and our equal sign. This one here, this straight up and down line is called a pipe or a vertical bar. I also believe it's used in mathematics or computing, not something I use very often. Actually, and I don't think I've ever used it, so you probably won't either. And then over underneath it, we have our backslash. And then last but not least, there is the delete. Now, to kind of give you some context about the delete button. Now, with delete, you can definitely use it to actually delete something. So if I go into what I wrote earlier and I hit my delete button, it does indeed delete it. But what happens a lot is that people will often put it all the way at the end of their sentence and then hit delete and then wonder why it's not deleting anything. Well, it's meant to be used to delete right in the middle of your word or sentence so that you don't have to delete the entire thing if you make a little bit of a typo or an error. In general, the delete or remove button on some keyboards refers to the act of eliminating a file, text, or another object from the computer. So that's what that's for. Now, tab. So we're going to go ahead and take these highlights off of the shift now that we are done with talking about the shift key. And now we're going to move over to the tab key. The tab key is fairly functional, and it is something that the more you type, you might use it more often. A tab may refer to it's in computer software or internet browsing. So that's one use of a tab bar or the tab word. But it is also a button that you can use that will move your text over a certain amount of spaces. So if you are typing out a book or a poem or just a paragraph and you want to indent a line, you can hit the tab button and it will actually go ahead and move it over a handful of spaces. I believe it's 5 spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and type something here. Hello, my name is Rhonda. Now let's say that I wanted to move the name over 5 spaces, but I didn't want to hit the space bar a ton. I didn't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the space bar. Instead, I can hit the tab button and it moves it over more for me. So if you're moving things over a lot and you don't want to keep hitting spacebar, 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 that's what that will do. Now over here we have the return button. This is actually just another word on a keyboard that means enter. So a lot of the times if you go to your text and you hit the return or enter button, it'll just take you down to the next line. Okay? And so if I wanted to go down another line, I could hit the return button. Okay? So now we can go over the caps lock. The caps lock is if you would like to make a text all capital letters. So this is famously known with memes and other social media jokes, is if you want to be yelling at someone through, talking on the internet, then you can hold, or I'm sorry, not even hold, you would just press the caps lock button. And if I press it once, then it will highlight everything as an uppercase letter until I hit that button again to turn it off. So, hi, my name is Rhonda. And so at that point, I didn't hold my shift button, which I also could have done, But instead, I wanted to save myself that extra step, and I decided to just touch the caps lock button, turn that on, and then when I was ready, turn it off and say, here we go again. And now we are back to lowercase letters. So another thing that I kind of want to go over is just these two buttons right here. So this one over here, the CTRL, is for control. The control button can be used in many ways, but the tech definition of it is that it is also a modifier key found on computer keyboards in the bottom left or right portion of the main keyboard. And basically, you can use it to open up additional menus for your computer. So one of the more, I guess, highlighted examples would be if your computer is kind of frozen and you're having a hard time getting out of a website that maybe you were visiting. If you hit Control Alt and the delete button, it will actually, all at the same time, it will open up what is called a task menu. And it kind of shows you a little bit about what you have running on your computer at that time. And you can technically end that task. So is it often used for just basic typing? No. It really is used as a modifier key to help you get to additional parts of your computer. The same goes with the Alt button, also known as the alternate key. Now, you will only find this on a PC keyboard because it really is, again, just another modifier key. It is used in a key combination to perform certain actions, such as accessing the options in the file menu or ribbon of a program that you might be using. Last but not least, I'm not going to go over these. These are just your basic arrows, of course, that up, down, left, right. But I am going to go over this function key. So right here, it says FN. Now, for this picture on the keyboard, it's not going to do much help, but it's not going to be much help, but I did want to explain it a little bit. On most keyboards, you will actually see right above the numbers here, okay, so right above it, there will actually be an additional row of keys that are called function keys. And a lot of the times you'll see them having things like the little headphone that shows volume up, and there'll be another one that has volume down. Some of them will have a little light on it to show you that you can turn on a light underneath your keyboard if your laptop has that feature. And so it would work just like the shift key, where you would press the FN or function key and you would hold that down while pressing one of those other buttons up here to do that additional action. Not every keyboard's going to have this, so I didn't want to put it in here and get everyone confused, but I did want to mention it just in case you were ever wondering what those function keys were. Well, I think that concludes our keyboard tutorial here today. And if you are new on your journey and you're just starting out with the keyboard, I highly recommend Googling a typing website that will help you get a little more familiar with typing. You can get quicker at it, become just a little bit more used to a lot of the buttons here. But really the main thing we wanted to discover today, it was the shift key, the caps lock, the tab, and I also forgot the escape key. The escape key up here is literally just to help you back out of a full screen window. So if you are ever looking at a website and it is in full screen mode, you can hit the escape key and it will take it back to its shrunken mode so that it's not full screen. And then just over here to lastly just kind of like touch on this a little bit. These are just other symbols that you use in grammar. So we have, colons, semicolons, quotation marks, and whatnot. And again, you would get that upper symbol by holding the shift key. All right, everyone. I hope that helped. And if you have any questions, you can always come see me at the library. I'm there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic day.